I've seen so many people rush out and grab the cheapest NAS they can find, only to end up with a box that can't even hold a couple of movies before it starts whining. It's that moment you're staring at a blinking red light and wondering if you've just bought a glorified external hard drive. That regret can be real, especially when you're paying for something that's supposed to make your digital life easier. So, does the Synology DiskStation DS223 feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another shiny gadget that will end up collecting dust? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started looking into a home office NAS, the biggest hurdle was the fear of overpaying for a future-proof machine that I'd never actually need. I'd already tried a couple of budget units that fumbled when I tried to run a small Plex server, and the frustration of watching buffering circles spin on a TV was a deal-breaker. The DS223 promises a little more muscle with its quad-core RTD1619B processor and 2 GB of DDR4 RAM, but those numbers only mean something if they translate into smooth day-to-day use. That's why I dug into the actual experience of setting it up, moving data around, and using the built-in DiskStation Manager (DSM) apps. First off, the box arrives sealed, which is nice if you're worried about tampering in transit. Inside, you'll find the chassis, a power supply, and the two 8TB SATA drives already installed. That's a solid start because you don't have to hunt for compatible drives and wonder if you're mixing brands. The drives are not pre-formatted, so you'll still need to go through the initial volume creation in DSM, but the wizard walks you through each step. Within 10 minutes, you have the two drives mirrored in a RAID 1 configuration, meaning you've got redundancy out of the box if one drive fails, your data is still safe on the other. What really matters is how the DS223 behaves once it's live. I connected it to my router via the single 1GBE port and let DSM handle the network side. The interface felt familiar, almost like a small Windows computer, but it's entirely web-based, so you can manage it from any device, laptop, tablet, even a phone. For me, the first real test was using the built-in photo station to serve pictures to my family's phones. The thumbnails loaded instantly, and full-resolution images streamed without the lag you sometimes see on cheaper units. That same smoothness carried over to file sharing. I mapped the NAS as a network drive on my Windows PC, and copying a 4 GB video file took about 34 seconds, perfectly reasonable for a home network. If you're thinking of running a Plex media server, the DS223 can handle a single 1080p stream without hiccups. The quad-core CPU isn't as beefy as the higher-end Synology models, but it's sufficient for transcoding a standard definition stream on the fly. However, if you plan to push multiple 4K streams simultaneously, you'll quickly run into the CPU ceiling. That's a hidden trade-off. The machine is great for a modest media library and light backup duties, but it's not built to replace a dedicated media server for a family of binge watchers. Another practical strength is the built-in backup suite. DSM includes Hyper Backup, which lets you push snapshots to another Synology box, an external drive, or even cloud services like Amazon S3. I set up a nightly backup to an external USB 3.0 drive, and the process ran overnight without slowing my computer. The incremental approach means only the changed bits get transferred, saving both time and bandwidth. For anyone who's been burned by hard drive failures, that kind of peace of mind is worth the extra setup effort. On the flip side, the DS223's single Ethernet port can be a bottleneck if you have a gigabit-capable network and want to aggregate traffic for multiple users. Some higher-end models offer dual ports with link aggregation for smoother performance, but you'll have to accept that limitation here. It's not a deal-breaker for a single-user household, but a small office with a few people pulling large files from the NAS at the same time might feel the strain. Memory upgrades are possible, but they aren't included out of the box. The 2 GB DDR4 is soldered onto a removable DIMM slot, so you can pop in a larger module if you need more headroom for apps like Docker containers or surveillance recording. The upgrade path is straightforward: just open the rear panel, slide in a 4 GB or 8 GB stick, and reboot. But that does add a variable cost that you have to factor in if you anticipate heavier workloads. Who should buy the DS223? If you're a home user who wants reliable storage for photos, documents, and a modest media collection, this is a solid middle ground. It's also a good fit for a remote worker who needs a private cloud to sync work files across devices without paying for a commercial service. The RAID 1 default gives you data protection without extra configuration, and the DSM ecosystem provides a lot of